Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here. And when we're living in COVID 1984 and the 2020 election is around the corner and the facts aren't the facts, according to the man behind me, Andrew Cuomo, you can't help but point out when the political rhetoric goes so over the top and is so easy to point out as a blatant lie that you do a video like this one. Now, in previous videos, I've been talking about the online circus that was the DNC show, the online convention, and the fact that there was no central area, there was no place where people could protest, there was no place people could gather, and this fit right into a plan, a plot to have these pre-produced pieces of garbage, especially for Joey B. I mean Sleepy Joe. No. He's Zombie Joe at this point. We're at Zombie Joe time, and I saw the media today going after Rush Limbaugh, who I would normally never defend. I think he's awful. He attacked Loose Change many times back in the day. He attacked anybody asking relevant questions about 9/11. He is a fearmonger. He is a warmonger, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to give him a pass. I know some of you are like, wait a minute, he's Trump's golf buddy. Trump says that he's a great guy. Same thing with Sean Hannity. Okay, sorry, I'll give some forgiveness to Tucker Carlson because he's done almost a 180 on every subject. But he's still somebody who I call out from time to time for the Johnny Nonsense, because it is Johnny Nonsense. But I saw Rush getting attacked today because he said that they must have pre-taped the Zombie Joe speech. And he said that that was the best that Joe had ever sounded. Hold on. Let's stop. First of all, not even close to the best Joe's ever sounded. Go check out some of my stuff from like 2008, 2009, 2010. When I was doing radio at InfoWars, and I talk about how Joey B is really like this likable character. This is long before a multitude of videos pop up on the internet of him manhandling children in the halls of government, right? That's a real thing. So this is long before that. This is when he's saying things to Dennis Kucinich during debates like, well, you're supposed to name one thing you like about the candidate to the left of you. And he's like, I like his wife. The Joey B, a little sassy, a little gangsterish, a guy that maybe you would want to have a drink with, right? That guy, he could give a decent speech. Now, this speech, I said, it was way better than I expected. And to me, I said there's no way they didn't tape that thing 3-4 times and pick the best one. I didn't look like there was any clever editing. Remember, there really wasn't a crowd. And Limbaugh basically said it was pre-taped. Yeah. Absolutely, 100%. But here's where the real shillin' willins goes. Andrew Capo Cuomo, who was part of this fiasco, right? This guy right here. He actually said that this speech was written by Joe Biden. I'll say it again. Joe Biden could not run a Wendy's for 3 weeks before it would go out of business. I don't know if he could do a week at a very busy 24-hour Denny's. Let's be honest, he can't run the country. And he certainly didn't write his speech. The thought is so ludicrous that any candidate writes his speech. Whether he puts things in his speech, they have speech writers. And that's how you know that Cuomo is the consummate liar politician, period. Right? So guys, thumbs this video up, subscribe and share. We're going to show you the clip of Cuomo lying. Remember, we are fully demonetized here, and despite the fact that, I have 56,000 subscribers, there's only 45 people watching this thing. That's okay. I'm deemed harmful content. The aggregate when I hashtag Biden or Zombie Joe or Cuomo probably puts me pretty darn low in the rankings. But if you like truth, if you like a voice of reason, $5, $10, $15, it means the world to me. Big donors need you now more than ever. Remember, if I ever am kicked off this platform for, telling the truth, make sure to go to Rockfin, Okay, go create a free account. You don't have to pay anything. If you do pay, you get all the premium material. You get the bonus stuff. You get everybody on the platform's premium and bonus stuff. It's like a Netflix for creators. A great deal. All right, then you got my documentary films. They're all free right here in the documentaries playlist. So go check them out. And of course, we have the t-shirt shop. So here we go. We're going to play it. Now, again, I want to reiterate this. Andrew Cuomo is saying that Joe Biden wrote his own speech that the media is cooing and cawing over. Look, even when I saw Van Jones, you know, one of these Dem left operatives and pundits that's all over the place talking about it, the words out of Van Jones is, I want to know who wrote this speech. Whoever wrote this speech for him did an amazing job. Everybody knows candidates don't write their own speeches, but here comes Andrew Cuomo with his silver forked tongue telling you some bullshiz.
Oh, yeah. I think he did a great job. Look, first, as someone who's been before an audience in a situation like that, it's hard without an audience. You know, there's no energy, there's no give and take. So I think he did an extraordinary job. And what I like about it is I know Joe Biden many years. That was Joe Biden. That was not a speechwriter. That was no one putting words in his mouth.
That was not a speechwriter. That was nobody putting words in his mouth. Could there be a larger line of pure, unadulterated, political, rhetorical bullshit than that? That wasn't a speechwriter. That was good old Joey B. That was the Joe Biden I know and love. I'm going to let him chill out a little bit more because what this was really leading up to, we're not going to play the whole clip, was what? To talk about mail-in ballots and the fact that they're framing this thing up that, you know, basically Cuomo's telling you that Trump's going to lose the election. He's going to say there's massive voter fraud via mail-in ballots, and it's all going to be a lie, and he's going to lose the election. Now, can you imagine when a guy like this who's telling you that that wasn't a speech, it's like saying, you know, telling everybody, I'm not going to murder my next door neighbor. And when he ends up dead, they're going to say I murdered my next door neighbor, but I didn't do it. And then flip it on the person that accused him. Okay, so let's just play a little bit more.
Those words came from his heart and his soul, and I thought he captured it very well. This is not a complex election. Let's be.
Well, listen, those words came from his heart and his soul. I'll say it again. Anywhere you are on the political spectrum, you have speechwriters, right? You're a very busy person. You may talk to those speechwriters. You may have them take down dictation to put into speeches. But Joe Biden can barely walk. Joe Biden can barely speak. And the idea that Andrew Cuomo can sit up here and act like that was Joe, give me a break. You know, I want to go a little bit further. Man, I don't know if I want to play the voter fraud clip because he did just sign executive orders. Period. Yeah, let's play it. He did just sign executive orders to make sure this mail-in voting thing is going. And isn't it weird to people that only one side wants mail-in voting and only one side is running somebody who is visually declined and mentally declined? And they'll just say anything. This guy acts like speechwriters don't exist.
Be honest. These are two very stark choices, and they are about character, and they are about the soul of the nation, and they are light and dark and unification and division, and lifting us up and taking us down. That's what this is about, this election. Facing COVID and handling this beast after 6 months.
And remember, that guy behind me is running on a platform of mandatory masks for the nation, and he just openly said he would listen to the scientists and lock everything down. He would shut it down. Guys, if you watched my video earlier, I read this entire article. No lockdown, no masks, no hysteria, no problems. Sweden going to corona coma is living in glorious normality, not some new normal, okay? And when you look at the percentage numbers, I just want to read the one part here. When compared to others, they had 57 per 100,000 people die. All right? Just to let you know, Belgium, 87 per 100K. Spain, 62. Britain, 62. Italy, 58. All those states went into lockdown. Or, I'm sorry, all those nations in Europe went into lockdown. Okay? Sweden didn't. So this guy, right, he's running on a platform where they're telling you they want mandatory masks, which probably means what? Mandatory vaccines down the line no matter what. Is that based in science? He wouldn't get it until January. All right. And can you imagine that half the population or more than half the population, the voting populace, wants that, whether they're Democratic or Republican? And now he's saying he wants it shut down more? As many people that are in fear, do you believe that could win an election? But hey, if you're going to have voter fraud via mail-in ballots, you'll say anything. And then you'll just act like the people saying it would be voter fraud are liars.
Vice President Biden laying out his plan to respond to the pandemic on Thursday night. Let's turn to the fight against coronavirus in New York. 13 straight days, if I'm not mistaken, with a positivity rate of less than 1%.
Doesn't mean we're opening anything. You saw the LARP fest on Main Street, and I'm New York State. I'm not New York City. Let me say it again. I'm New York State. It's a massive state. It's affecting all of us. People are angry, as they should be. And this guy just sits up here and he says the facts aren't the facts. It's ridiculous.
Schools set to open in New York City, especially the largest school district in this country. Schools set to open in a few weeks. It's the largest school district in this country, you know, outside Chicago, LA, Houston, who decided to go all virtual. How confident are you that New York City schools are ready to reopen?
And here's the thing. It's set up to fail, right? They want a second lockdown. They're running on a second lockdown. Joe Biden's telling you he would listen to the scientists. Again, Cuomo's about to spin a bunch of stuff about school reopenings, right? But here's the real thing. He's going to act like, oh, the parents are very concerned. He's going to ask, would you send your child into these schools? Go read that article. Schools are open in Stockholm, Sweden. But here's what they're not doing. They're not treating everybody with the sniffles or a cough or a sore throat or diarrhea as a potential COVID patient. And what they're doing is they're going to start treating them that way and then isolating them. And that's how the contact tracing starts. And that's where the parents are pretty concerned, especially if you read what's on the legislative table in March in New York, or if you watched my video on it earlier this week. So let's continue.
Well, look, it is first fingers crossed on all of this, right? But we've gone from the highest infection rate in the United States to the lowest infection rate, as you know.
And notice there's never any talk of the fact that there was a high infection rate in New York, and that many people, developed herd immunity and were never tested in the first place. And many people were tested for antibodies after the fact and had them. They never, you notice how herd immunity is not even a thing anymore?
If there's any state that can reopen schools, it's us. We did a record number of tests yesterday, just about 100,000 tests. We test way more than any other state. And we are down at a 0.7 infection rate. So that's very low. We've been reopening for 14 weeks, Craig, and our infection rate actually went down. So you can handle this beast, right, if you're serious about it.
See this? See, this is what kills me. If you're serious about it. Again, look at the charts behind me. Okay, the dates are there. This is Sweden. They didn't lock down. They didn't force people to wear masks. And this guy's acting like he's a hero when he had by far the most deaths, and the situation with the nursing homes is very real. And they actually talk about Sweden and their nursing care facilities and how their death rates were high there as well. But not because they did Cuomo-like policies, by the way.
On schools, we have the infection rate that says you can open schools. It then becomes a question school district by school district, and it's how you do it. Sure, you can. It's how. It's like when we reopen the economy. You have to be smart, and you have to have protocols in place. And we're working that.
Our economy hasn't reopened, okay? Still no movie theaters. Still no gyms, even though they're putting in their it's ridiculous. They got to put in air filter systems. They got to present some plan. They got to jump through hoops. They got to be at half capacity. They got to maintain social distancing. They want people to wear masks while they're doing their workouts. I mean, come on. It's again, LARP City, USA, downtown Oneonta right now. And again, I've got a Democratic mayor that it's scary. This is scary.
That through school district by school district. And what I've said from day one is if the parents aren't happy and confident, and if the teachers aren't confident, then you don't have a school district reopening, because you can't open a school district without parents and teachers.
You see, this is the guy that just told you Joe Biden wrote his own speech, and those words came from his heart and his soul. This is the guy you got to trust, right?
And we're working through that now. And we'll make different decisions in different districts. But from my point of view, as long as they're safe and smart, whatever a local district wants to do, our infection rate is low right now.
If you had school-age children in New York City, would you send them to New York City public school?
I mean, again, the fear, you know, all these questions are set out. This is a propaganda rollout piece. All right, this is a highlight piece for what the real agenda is for all of us.
Well, they're still working out what the plan would be. I would have a lot of questions. Parents do have a lot of questions. This is a risky proposition, no matter how you do it, Craig. Let's be honest. You're bringing a lot of people into a congregate setting. Do you have the testing? Do you have the tracing? Do you have the social distance requirements? How are you going to handle it?
All of them which are fiction. We all go, what? To the store. Okay, we all congregate. I mean, there's all sorts of parties going on. There was no outbreak after the Chainsmokers concert down in the Hamptons. It's all fiction. There was no outbreak after any of these protests. Fiction, fiction, fiction. How come nobody's pointing that out? That there have been large congregations. The facts aren't the facts, right? But again, the fear is the fear.
We've seen schools open. We've seen colleges open and get into trouble in 1 week. So there's a lot of questions to answer before, but that's the dialogue we're having now. And again, if it's not a smart plan, then it shouldn't happen. And we have 700 school districts. I'm sure we're going to have 700 different answers in New York.
Governor, yesterday you signed this bill expanding and protecting mail-in voting.
Expanding and protecting mail-in voting. But there's not going to be any fraud. Now, again, Cuomo's going to sit here. He's going to tell you that Trump's going to lose. And when he loses, it's not going to be because of mail-in voting fraud that they set up. And that he's going to accuse that, of course. So this, again, is somebody setting up a situation where you're not even allowed to say that there could be fraud, because, of course, there's not going to be fraud. There's not going to be fraud.
Throughout New York City. As you know, Governor, the president has continued to rail against mail-in voting, says it's rife with fraud. What do you say to folks who are watching and listening who are concerned about the idea of mail-in voting?
Yeah, I don't get this rife with fraud. I think this is a setup. I think the president is, frankly, anticipating losing on Election Day. And then we're going to hear him say, oh, there was fraud in the election, right? The president is very good at always establishing a conspiracy.
See, now it's a conspiracy. There would be mail-in voting fraud. Again, but masks work, right? But we can't vote in person. All of it is just like hyper inverted, guys. So thumbs the video up, subscribe, and share. Remember, what you just watched could be deemed harmful content by the tech giants that be. So $5, $10, $15, big donations. They mean the world to me, guys. Check me out over on Rockfin. Go create a free account. If you do have the premium account, again, you get all the premium content of everybody on the platform. And again, I might just end up being here if they kick me off here. What else can I do? All the documentary films, Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled, Enemies, Invisible, Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture, they're free right here in this documentaries playlist section below. You can also check out the links to the t-shirts. Oh, see, this is it. Everybody gets to see my t-shirt shop right there. I've made $114 on my t-shirt orders. I did have this one up right here that says, "Your life matters. Your skin color shouldn't have to." I don't know. I like it. I hope you guys do too. I love you. I'll see you on the flip side.